The distress beacon cut through the asteroid field like a knife. Lieutenant Jake Morrison had been running survey missions for 6 months without incident, just him, his ship, and the endless black. But protocols were protocols, and ignoring a distress call meant court-martial. He maneuvered the Aurora through the debris field, dodging chunks of twisted metal that had once been a luxury transport. The ship's AI highlighted 2 life signs in what remained of an escape pod wedged between asteroids and bleeding atmosphere. "This is Lieutenant Morrison, Alliance Survey Corps. I'm reading your beacon. Hang tight, I'm coming for you." No response. The pod's communications were dead. Jake suited up and jetted across the gap, magnetic boots clanging onto the pod's hull. Through the viewport, he could see 2 figures slumped in their seats, unconscious. His breath caught. They weren't human, Felinar. The cat people from the Lyra system. He could see the distinctive features even through the cracked glass: fur-covered faces, pointed ears, elegant muzzles. Both females, one with sleek black fur and the other a soft gray. Sisters, maybe, given their similar builds. The pod groaned. Jake's suit computer flashed warnings: structural integrity at 15% and falling. He had maybe 3 minutes. Jake activated his plasma cutter and carved through the emergency hatch. The pod's atmosphere vented in a rush of frozen crystals. He grabbed the first Felinar, the black-furred one, and hauled her toward his ship. She was light in the low gravity but still deadweight, completely unconscious. 2 minutes. He secured her in the Aurora's airlock and jetted back. The pod was collapsing, now, metal shrieking as asteroid impacts tore it apart. The gray-furred Felinar had woken up, her golden eyes wide with terror as she struggled against her restraints. "I've got you," Jake said, knowing she probably couldn't hear him through the vacuum. He cut her free and grabbed her, pulling her close as the pod finally gave way. They tumbled through space, Jake firing his thrusters to guide them back to the Aurora. Behind them, the pod crumpled like tissue paper, disappearing into the asteroid field. 1 minute. Jake got them both into the airlock and sealed it, yanking off his helmet as atmosphere flooded in. The gray-furred Felinar was gasping, her breathing ragged. Her sister was still unconscious, a nasty gash across her forehead leaking blood that was disturbingly red against her black fur. "Medical bay," Jake muttered, carrying them both, one under each arm, through the ship. The Aurora was designed for single occupancy, but it had a decent autodock for emergencies. He got the black-furred one into the autodock first. Concussion, cracked ribs, severe dehydration. The machine went to work while Jake tended to her sister. "Easy," he said as the gray-furred Felinar tried to stand. "You're safe now, you're on my ship." She stared at him with those huge golden eyes, her pupils vertical slits that dilated as she took him in. When she spoke, her voice was musical but strained. "My sister Kira, is she? The autodoc's working on her, she'll be fine." Jake guided her to a chair. "What's your name?" "Lissa." Her ears pointed and mobile, swiveling to track sounds flattened against her skull. "We were traveling to New Terra when our ship was attacked. Pirates. They disabled our engines and boarded. Kira and I got to the escape pod, but it was damaged." "You're safe now," Jake repeated. He grabbed a medical scanner. "Let me check you over." Lissa was in better shape than her sister, bruised, shaken, but nothing critical. While Jake worked, she watched him with an intensity that made him nervous. "You saved us," she said quietly. "Why?" "Because you needed help." Jake didn't understand the question. "That's what people do." "Not in our experience." Her tail, thick and expressive, swished behind her. "Most wouldn't risk their ship for strangers, especially not for Felinar." Jake frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" Before Lissa could answer, the autodock beeped. Kira was stable and waking up. Jake helped her out of the machine, supporting her weight as she found her footing. Kira looked so much like her sister, same delicate muzzle, same golden eyes, but with sleeker black fur where Lissa's was gray. They embraced, purring, actually purring with relief. "We thought we were dead," Kira whispered. "You would have been if not for him." Lissa gestured to Jake. He pulled us both from the wreckage. Both sisters turned to look at him and Jake felt like a bug under a microscope. What's your name? Kiera asked. Jake Morrison, Lieutenant, Alliance Survey Corps. Jake Morrison. Kiera repeated it carefully like memorizing something important. You saved our lives, both of us, that creates a debt. No debt, just glad I got there in time. The sisters exchanged a look, one of those silent communications that siblings could do. Something passed between them that made Jake nervous. Where were you headed? He asked, changing the subject. New Terra, Lissa said. We were supposed to meet our father there. He's a trader, works the outer colonies. But our ship is destroyed. We have no credits, no way to contact him. I can get you to New Terra. It's on my route anyway. Jake pulled up a star chart. 3 weeks if we don't hit any complications. 3 weeks on your ship, Kiera's ears perked up. But Lieutenant Morrison, your vessel is clearly designed for solo operation. Where would we sleep? Jake hadn't thought that far ahead. The Aurora had one bed, a tiny galley, and a fresher barely big enough for a human. 2 Felinar passengers for 3 weeks was going to be cramped. We'll figure it out, he said. You can have the bed, I'll take the floor. Absolutely not, both sisters said simultaneously. You saved our lives, Lissa continued. We're not taking your bed. Then we share it, Jake said without thinking. It's big enough for 3 if we're friendly about it. The sisters exchanged another look, this one longer, more significant. As you wish, Kiera said softly, something unreadable in her expression. The first week was awkward. Jake was hyper-aware of the 2 Felinar women in his space, moving with feline grace through the cramped ship. They were quiet, polite, and insisted on helping with everything despite his protests. Lissa turned out to be a decent engineer, fixing several problems with the Aurora's systems that Jake hadn't even noticed. Kiera was brilliant with navigation, plotting more efficient routes through the asteroid fields. And at night they all squeezed into the bed, Jake in the middle, a sister on each side. It was innocent, practical, but also the most intimate Jake had been with anyone in years. They were warm, their purring a soothing sound in the darkness. Tell us about Earth, Lissa said one night. We've never met a human who's actually been there. Earth's complicated, Jake said. Beautiful but scarred. The war damaged a lot, but we're rebuilding. The sky is actually blue, which sounds weird until you've lived on stations with artificial lighting for years. Do humans really not have tails? Kiera asked, her own tail draped over Jake's legs for warmth. How do you balance? We just do. I don't know. I've never had a tail to miss. But you can't communicate with them. How do people know when you're happy or angry or frightened? Facial expressions, body language, words. How primitive, Lissa teased, though her tone was affectionate. Her ears brushed against Jake's shoulder. No wonder humans need so much talking. The second week, things shifted. The sisters started calling him by his first name without the rank. They cooked meals together in the tiny galley, Kiera teaching Jake about Felinar spices while Lissa told stories about their childhood on Lyra Prime. Jake learned that they'd lost their mother young, that their father had raised them alone while running trade routes. That they were closer than most siblings because they'd only had each other growing up. Father always said we'd find a good male eventually, Kiera mentioned one evening. Someone worth bonding with. Bonding? Jake asked. Marriage in your terms, but more permanent. Lissa's tail swished. Felinar bond for life. When we choose a mate, it's forever. That sounds intense. It is. Kiera's golden eyes caught the light, which is why we're very careful about choosing. Something in her tone made Jake nervous again. The third week, Jake woke up to find both sisters curled against him, purring in their sleep. Kiera's head was on his chest, Lissa's arm draped over his waist. Their fur was incredibly soft, their warmth comforting. He realized with a start that he was going to miss this when they reached New Terra. Over breakfast, Kiera brought it up. Jake, we need to discuss something important. Okay. He sipped his coffee, trying not to notice how beautiful she looked in the morning light. Lissa and I have been talking about what happens when we reach New Terra. I figured I'd help you find your father, make sure you're settled. That's not what we mean. Lissa leaned forward. Jake, in Felinar culture, when someone saves a life, they create a bond. When someone saves two lives, siblings, and cares for them afterward, it creates a permanent bond, Kira finished. By our laws and customs, you're already our husband. Jake choked on his coffee. I'm your what? Husband, mate, life partner. Kira said it calmly, like discussing the weather. You saved us, sheltered us, shared your space and food and bed. In every way that matters to Felinar culture, you've claimed us. I didn't, I was just helping. We know that, Lissa said gently. We know you didn't understand the significance, but Jake, we've spent 3 weeks living with you, observing you, getting to know. We've decided we want to make it official. Both of you, Jake's voice cracked. Felinar often bond in sibling groups, Kira explained. It's not unusual for sisters to share a husband, especially if they're close. It provides stability, multiple caretakers for children, stronger family bonds. Children? Jake stood up so fast he hit his head on the low ceiling. I'm 28, I barely make enough to maintain this ship, I live alone in space. Exactly, Lissa said, you're perfect. Independent, resourceful, brave enough to risk yourself for strangers, and you've been kind to us, Jake, so kind. But I mean you're both beautiful and amazing, but this is crazy, is it? Kira stood, moving close. Jake, we're not asking you to change your life, we can adapt. Lissa can work as your engineer, I can handle navigation, we'll help pay for ship maintenance, contribute to the partnership equally. We want to stay with you, Lissa added, joining her sister. We want to make this work unless you don't want us. The hurt in their voices broke something in Jake's chest. Over 3 weeks he'd grown attached to them, their laughter, their warmth, the way they made his lonely ship feel like a home. It's not that I don't want you, he said carefully. But this is a huge decision. Marriage, bonding, that's forever for you. What if you change your minds? What if you meet someone better? We won't, both sisters said simultaneously. How can you know that? Akira took his hand, pressing it to her chest where he could feel her heart beating. Because Felinar don't bond lightly. We've observed you, Jake Morrison, your kindness, your honor, your strength, the way you gave us your bed without hesitation, the way you worked extra shifts to afford better food for us, the way you pretended not to notice when we were scared at night and held us until we felt safe. You thought I didn't notice, Lissa smiled, showing delicate fangs. We notice everything. And everything we've noticed tells us you're the one. This is insane, Jake whispered, but he didn't pull away from Kira's touch or from Lissa as she pressed against his other side. Maybe, Kira agreed, but sometimes the best things are. I need time to think. Of course. They stepped back, giving him space. We arrive at New Terra in 3 days, think it over. If you decide you can't bond with us, we'll understand. We'll find our father and let you continue your life. But even as they said it, Jake could see the hope in their golden eyes, hear it in the nervous swish of their tails. For 3 days, Jake thought. He thought about his lonely surveys, the endless months in space with only ships AI for company. He thought about the warmth of the sisters curled against him at night, the laughter during meals, the way they'd transformed his sterile ship into something like a home. He thought about Kira's brilliant mind, the way she solved navigation problems he'd struggled with for months. About Lissa's gentle humor, her skill with repairs that had saved him thousands in station fees. He thought about the word husband and how terrifying and wonderful it sounded. When they docked at New Terra Station, Jake had made his decision. Before we find your father, he said carefully, I need to know something. This bonding thing, it's permanent, right? Forever. Both sisters nodded, their ears perked forward with attention. And you're both absolutely sure you want this, want me? More sure than we've ever been about anything, Kira said softly. Then we need to do this properly. Jake pulled out his personal tablet. I did some research. Felinar bonding ceremonies require witnesses, right, and exchange of promises. You're saying yes, Lissa's voice was barely a whisper. I'm saying that 3 weeks ago I was alone on this ship just going through the motions, and now I can't imagine going back to that. So yeah, if you'll have me weird human with no tail and all, I want to bond with both of you. They actually tackled him, purring so loud the entire docking bay could probably hear. We'll find a bonding priest immediately, Kira said, pulling back with tears in her golden eyes. And tell father, Lissa added, he's going to be so surprised. Surprised was an understatement. The sisters' father, a grizzled Felinar trader named Torvin, nearly had a heart attack when his daughters introduced Jake as their chosen bondmate. You're bonding both my daughters after 3 weeks, Torvin's tail lashed dangerously. I saved them from a wreck, sir. Apparently that has cultural significance I wasn't aware of. And you're certain about this? The old trader studied Jake with uncomfortably sharp eyes. You understand what bonding means to my kind. Forever. No divorce, no second thoughts, no backing out when things get hard. Jake met Torvin's gaze steadily. I understand, and I'm sure. Why? Because they make me laugh, because they're brilliant and kind and they turned my lonely ship into a home, because when I think about the future now I can't imagine it without them in it. Jake paused. And because your daughters are the best thing that's ever happened to me, sir, I'd be honored to be their husband. Torvin was silent for a long moment. Then his tail stopped lashing and his ears perked forward approval. Jake had learned. Then we'll have the ceremony tomorrow, but if you ever hurt my daughters, human, I will hunt you across every system in known space. Understood, sir. The bonding ceremony was small but meaningful. A Felinar priest, Torvin as witness, and a handful of the sisters' friends from New Terra. Jake exchanged promises with Kira first, then Lissa, pledging to honor, protect, and cherish them for life. They moved into his ship that night, officially now not just as passengers but as his wives. The Aurora felt smaller and more crowded and infinitely better. So, Jake said as they settled into bed, their bed now in their home, what happens next? We travel, Kira said, curling against his left side. We explore the galaxy together, we build a life. We grow old together, Lissa added from his right. Have adventures, maybe start a family someday when we're ready. A family. Jake felt panic and excitement war in his chest. Someday, both sisters said soothingly, there's no rush. Jake lay there between his two cat wives, listening to them purr, feeling their warmth, and marveled at how his life had changed in 3 weeks. He'd saved 2 cat sisters from wreckage in an asteroid field. Now they were calling him husband, and somehow impossibly it was the best decision he'd never meant to make. I love you both, he whispered into the darkness. We know, they purred back. We've known for weeks. Why didn't you say something? Because you needed to figure it out yourself, Kira said wisely. Humans are stubborn that way, Lissa teased. Jake laughed, pulled them both closer, and fell asleep to the sound of purring and the knowledge that he was finally truly home.